So I'm going to open the meeting. Today is 25th of February 2025. This is the Open Space Committee meeting. I am the co-chair, Bill Hoffman, and to start this meeting, because there's a couple new faces, I thought maybe we'd just go around the table and introduce ourselves. So again, I'm the co-chair. Been living in Newbury now for almost 10 years. Moved from Raleigh prior to that, where we were there for about 7 years. We lived down near the Lower Green, right down near the Parker River. And just got involved with open space a couple years after we got here for probably a lot of the same reasons why we all are here. Because we love open space, the world feel of Newbury. So that's me. So we just kind of go around the room and introduce ourselves.
Sure. And I'm Christina Hoffman. Yep, same history as Bill, and I think we ended up joining the commission last year, the subcommittee last year. So yeah, we're excited to help move things forward to try and create opportunities, like really make sense of what the town's priorities are when it comes to open space and recreation, and see where we can contribute. So yeah, that's why we're here.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
We are official now.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
All right. So I opened the meeting for David. I don't know if you want to take over.
No. Actually, I need to tell them they're not official until you go sign the book.
So we opened up the meeting and now we're kind of going around trying to do some introductions. And now there's so many new faces now, which is exciting.
Hi, I'm Maura. I'm married to Greg here. We live in Newbury. We moved here about 10 years ago, and I think you both summed it up well. We came here because of the open space, and so we just want to be involved and yeah, see what's going on. Yeah.
I'm Mary Keys. I live over in Raleigh. I've been there since COVID began. I'm on Fenno. I'm here because I'm curious about the Boston to Border update.
Okay.
Jim Dooling, lived in town 25 years, and just love exploring all the open space we have here, and I've been sitting in for a year or so on the committee, finally made it official, and look forward to getting an update on any other new initiatives we take on.
My name is Sean McElroy. I live on Main Street here in Byfield. My focus, or the reason I'm here, is I also want to see the Borders to Boston trails completed, especially the Byfield section. I've been talking to the folks at the Coastal Trail Coalition. They've kind of got some great input, by the way. I'm going to be interviewing them as part of this survey that we're doing as well, as soon as I get signed in. So we'll be doing that.
I'm Mike Carboni. I grew up on Scotland Road. Left for a little while, and I've been back on Scotland Road since 2007, and I've been kind of on and off this committee ever since I've been back in town, assisting where I can with either updating these plans or doing other things.
I'm Sadie. I live over on Dodge Road in Raleigh. I had a job at the Ipswich River Watershed Association. That's how I met Kristen Grubbs, and then she helped me get this opportunity helping with the open space plan update. So, yeah.
Well, we won't hold it against you from Raleigh, right?
I hope not.
So I'm David Powell. I live literally across the street, which is how I came with an umbrella. Mike and I were actually on the original old open space plan back in the 2010s, I think 2010, something like that. I was on the planning board for many years. I've been a volunteer property steward at Old Town Hill for a long time, about 30-something years, and also involved with Green Belt and their Osprey program. and are very much interested in essentially trying to move along a number of things in Newbury that have to do with open space.
Great, all right, well, thank you. So we have an agenda tonight to follow, which was David and I had helped pulling this one together, so we appreciate it as always. So the next on the agenda is citizen queries. Seeing how we have some folks from the public here, I'd like to open up the table for discussion, questions, or if you're just here to listen in, then we can proceed and chime in anytime you guys want.
Just here.
Yeah, just here to learn.
Okay.
Those greenheads over here,
True.
just saying,
Yeah.
get on that other side of 95.
Okay, well, thank you. So then, moving on, we have the meeting minutes to review and approve. Those were sent out to the group, I think it was the 19th. Has everybody had a chance to review those? And any questions? Mike has been generous to type those up and send them out for us in a timely manner, so if you have any questions, maybe for Mike. No? Hearing none, would someone like to move to approve?
I move to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
And a
I'll
second?
second it.
Excellent. All right, thank you. So now we're getting to the bulk of it. So it looks like there's actually quite a few little bullets here for us to discuss. And these are plan updates. And see, it looks like there was an update with the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission.
Yeah, so we met with Adrienne and Hannah from the MVPC, and I just wanted to share some recommendations that they had. And I wanted to talk about planning, and, well, sorry, these bullets are like a little bit out of order of how I wanted to do it, but, Kristen and I have been talking about, deciding on a date for a meeting, to present the process of the plan to any public who are interested and to get some people to fill out the survey that we're going to send out to the public. We were thinking about March or mid to late March. Does that sound like something we could do? Okay.
So this is the survey questions to the bigger organizations, groups where we have the Google form.
Well, this is the public survey,
Okay.
different from the organizational outreach survey. I think, David, you had started working on
Yes, I
a
sent
survey?
you, I
have
think,
it.
right, a copy of that, so you could
Yeah.
look at it and play with it and whatever.
Right. Jim, I think, did Ella have a digital version of this, do you know?
Of the
Of the public survey?
public survey,
Or was that just the organizational
yeah,
outreach?
I'd have to ask her about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it might have just been
The
she was
organization.
working on getting the collating the questions.
Yeah,
from
I
the
did
organization.
send it to everybody with also a little update addenda. And I don't know, I think probably I only sent it to Jim. I don't think I sent it to her specifically at that point.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know whether then I had her email actually. So let's assume she doesn't.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that, just like we were talking about having it in March, that means that this would be our last meeting before that, and that, to me, feels a little ambitious.
Okay.
If we need to really nail through nail down the logistics of where it's gonna be, who's gonna do what, confirm the survey questions, because I know that there were people who had comments on them, and we were kind of going back and forth, and then we kept pushing it
Yeah.
off of the agenda, and we never ultimately got to the final version, I don't think, unless it happened when I was not here, which is completely possible.
No, there is no final.
We don't have a final version yet. I feel like that might take a little time to work through, so
Okay.
I'm just tossing out that March seems ambitious and we might wanna think about April, but I'm all gung ho to make it happen.
Okay,
I
sounds
just-
good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like these questions and I was comparing them to the survey questions that we've used in the past, and I picked out some ones that I think would be most effective, and I can send this to everybody so that everyone can review it and
Sure.
comment. Okay.
There's a, I forget what it's called now, but in the state has this how to do an open space plan, and it's outdated. And is there a section in there with specific questions that we should be asking that would meet the open space plan requirements?
It's a little bit vague
Yeah.
about the exact.
It's a lot vague.
Yeah, it's like, you should do a survey, and I'm like, okay, and then
There you go.
Yeah.
kind of up to you at that point, but I liked the one in the last plan because it was very concise and it's just a couple questions, and a lot of it was just circling, and then there were a couple questions at the end for like write your thoughts. So I think a good short concise thing would be best.
Sounds good.
And I think for that first meeting, we should have it all ready to go with like a QR code or like physical copies for people to fill out and stuff. So.
I think the major question that needs to be addressed also is how are we sending it to everybody in the town?
Mhm.
If so, where's the budget for that? And if there isn't one for doing it at that level, because that's 2,500 households or so, what do we do? In other words, do we do a random process? Do we target specific groups?
Mhm.
In other words, do we make sure that we're asking those questions of the over 65s, families with 2 kids, single unmarried, I mean, that sort of thing? Do we have that kind of profile? Because otherwise, that sort of questionnaire really doesn't provide you with information that you can go, to the bank on,
Mhm.
in my experience.
Okay.
So we need, I think, to have a pretty solid background to know how we're going to do it, if it's not going to be to every household, I think is how we would describe it, yeah.
Do you remember how you did it last time you guys worked on this?
We didn't.
Okay.
You didn't do a survey?
No, we did, but it was,
Very
how
limited.
shall I say, it was based around the fact that the state handbook, which as Bill mentioned is really out of date, was pretty vague then. In fact, I think it was even vaguer.
Yeah.
So what we did was we did a survey in an initial meeting, and then a survey
Yeah.
of the meeting where we had the presentation of the plan. All of which was a bit kind of, how shall I say, not very professional, but we needed to get it done.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, what is your,
That's my recollection too. There was maybe a couple members of the public present, but we didn't have a full house by any means.
yeah, I think it was slightly more than a couple, but.
Yeah.
But we also did a presentation, because as I shared with the committee some time ago, I turned out I did it and I'd forgotten, of the final version to a group of people, and we asked them some questions at the beginning, and then we asked them the same questions at the end to see whether they had changed based on what we were talking about in terms of information and planning. So it was a bit, we did it because we could raise our hand and say we had.
Mhm.
Yeah, but nothing as ambitious as this. And I think, I don't know whether when I sent that to you, I confessed to these guys that a lot of this is stolen from your hometown and from Boxford, that's in the thing I sent to you, and from a couple of other towns too, who did much more comprehensive things than the original one that you might see floating around. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I wonder if we can, somehow get it just on the front homepage of the website too.
Yeah.
The link right there.
Right.
Not buried in departments and committees and everything else, but right on the front page for however long we want to leave it open for, 2 weeks, a month, whatever, we can kind of figure out our time frame there. And I know that, some percentage of residents subscribe to different boards and committees, newsletters. They get a notice, for the agendas and things like that automatically via email. Is there I don't know if there's a way that we can tap into that? They're not directly subscribed to us, but is there some way that we could email the survey out to folks that might not be subscribed to the Open Space Committee, but they're subscribed to some form of town business? I don't know where that lives, or if we can if it can be tapped into or not.
It might be possible to simply scrape all the subscribers.
That's what I mean. It might get,
Right.
if we get, 50% might be a huge number, but if it's 50% of the population subscribed, that's a pretty good pool, right? It's probably less than that, I'm sure, but I don't know, just thinking of a way to keep the cost down instead of like physical mailings.
Or like if this might not go along with what you said, David, but posting like the QR code at entrances of like different facilities, like schools or open space and recreational facilities, or like information boards, so that it gets people who are more likely to fill out a survey and take the time to do that. That would be targeting like a specific population, but I think it might get some good responses.
So in order to do that, we need like a design of a one pager, that's like, hey, take our survey from the open space plan, committee and put the QR code in. I mean, we even can post it right all around here and all the offices around here as well. We had talked a little bit about, I'm looking back at my notes when we were talking about the survey last year, and we thought if they were going online to do the survey, it might be nice to have like a little reward for doing the survey, and we were going to give them the walking trail map. Like, if you finish the survey, then we'll give it to you anyway. But, they don't need to know that. We're already going to post it, but I feel like we had
Yeah, a little thank you. Yeah.
right, just like a little, here's the trail map, right? We want the updated one and map.
Just make it like
we're
present
working on
it to them right after they're done.
Yeah.
I did this thing.
And
Now
here
go
are the
do.
trails.
Now go enjoy the trail.
A
Yeah.
way to
Right.
distribute it to as many people as we can. And then we also had talked about, sometimes you can take these kind of things and put them in a mailer, like with the water bill.
With
or the
something
water bill,
else,
or
yeah.
with something else, the tax bill or real estate bill or something. I don't know if that's even an option, but if we could just sort of ask around if it is feasible, then we still need the one, it still comes back to we need a one pager that's designed in a way that will catch people's eye, that will make them want to click the code.
Yeah.
And then we need to get the code to work.
Yeah.
So,
That was probably going to be my next project.
yeah, okay, okay, good. We can take that.
So yeah.
Is
Those
there-
are all good ideas.
Were you thinking it would go to the, like via Google?
I was thinking,
Yeah.
because I feel like
And follow
people know
along.
how to use those
Yeah.
self-explanatory,
It's pretty straightforward.
and then it gives you the nice little result.
Or
Exactly.
Survey Monkey or something.
Could
Yeah,
be.
something
Yeah.
that's
Really
easy
simple.
to
Yeah,
use.
Yeah.
I mean, Survey Monkey made it easier.
Yeah.
so.
And we're happy to, take the one pager and go around. We had listed off some places that we could go to put it, to kind of advertise a little bit, like the library and,
Right.
I don't know, just different committees, going to the town conservation commission, the planning board, like just go around to all of
Right,
commission meetings and say, here we're doing the survey.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that we spread the word a little bit.
Um, Does the town clerk do they collect email addresses? I'm thinking, maybe on the dog tag or parking permit thing. Because I'm just thinking people who have parking permits and dogs
Mm-hmm.
might have an interest in open spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a there's, I think, a state law that if you've given up your email for a specific reasoning, we'd have to talk to them, but it's a good idea, but I have a feeling may be limited. And it may be that people who have opted to subscribe, as Mike was suggesting, are the better way in because
Yeah.
they've essentially declared their sort
want
of
us-
public identity.
Send me stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we end up doing the blurb? I know that we had come up with language for the blurb about the open space committee and how it had, you know, sort of been refreshed last year, and we were working on an updated plan, and I know we were refining that language, but I don't know if it ultimately got pushed out as like an announcement on the town website, but that was one of the things that we were working on too, and it was also, we were gonna use it as a way to ask people, if you are, here's an announcement, if you're interested in, you know, getting updates about the open space and recreation plan update, then click here and give us your email address, and then we get their approval to say like, okay, do you want to review the draft plan, and here's the survey, and anyway, we could at least give them some updates. So it'd be interesting to know, I'll go on them right now and see if it's on there.
Yeah, let's check those.
I'm not sure.
I thought we
We
updated
did that.
something.
I thought we did. Maybe.
I know it's
Yeah.
too late to do this year, but maybe we could put a survey in the, because they do send out requests for people to sign up for parking permit and such. I imagine those go to everybody.
Yeah.
So without using the email, at least we could at least get it in front of people.
Yeah,
At least those people. A lot of people probably just throw that in the trash, but whatever. I mean,
we have to try, right?
what's the term? I mean, what are we talking about for a time frame here? Is this something we're doing right away now, or?
For the survey?
Yeah.
I think just as soon as possible. We have a draft survey, so I can go through it and send that to everybody for feedback.
It kind of dictates a little bit of what gets put in certain sections of the plan. So, kind of, you know, to fully finalize it, we need that kind of information in the back end.
And going back to Christina's reward thing, another thing which comes up when you do surveys is, particularly of this sort, where you're trying to not only survey but also indirectly engage people, is actually to let them know what the survey turned up. In other words, to publicly release the survey, not at the end process, which so often happens, where, you know, there's the first survey and then there's the second survey kind of thing, but to do it as soon as you can, because in a sense, I think one of the things that happens is that people feel that they get asked questions, and whatever the hell happened to that kind of thing, right? And that's a way of, because some people will come back to you and say, oh, I read in the survey that X, and I really think that that's kind of important, or that's rubbish, or whatever.
Yeah, I think some of the survey software, like I know Google collects all the emails, so like we could send like, that could be a step towards the end where we send out
Right.
like the results of
Yeah.
their responses.
Because I noticed, I don't know whether with the Rowley one, but certainly with the Boxford one, they had a very sexy graphic report showing, you know, what the survey said. And that was part of the plan they filed with the state. And I did try and contact the people who put that together. I'm trying to remember what happened. Okay, I didn't get an answer to my question, and my question was, did they share that before it got put into, and they couldn't remember whether they had the results and they weren't graphic until the final report, was I think what actually happened. Because that can be very telling if you look at percentages and things in a graphic format. Yeah.
But wouldn't that be included in the plan? The results of the survey, we can use those graphics and publish them. But so you're saying do the analysis first, pump that out even before the plan is published?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
right, and what I was thinking of doing, because the other day, is to work with one of the people at NVPC, who I know real well, and see if we can come up with the best way of graphically presenting that sort of data. Because there are different kinds of graphic representations, and most of us tend to sort of have the barometer graph type thing, whereas actually, I can't think what they're called now, but the kind that use area. In other words, if something is 3%, it's a tiny little thing down here, and if it's 57%, it's easier to read, and it's a better message. And I think NVPC might have some hardware that does, software that does this.
I think, and we're gonna be talking tomorrow with Steve Lopez, I don't know if you know him, from MVPC about maps and data and stuff, so we can bring that up and ask him if he can do that for us once we're done with.
Yeah,
getting the
Steve
results.
Lopez is the guy I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to say something?
Oh, I just had a question, and I'm sorry, it's probably already been answered, and I know.
No, you're fine.
No worries.
So it sounds like the survey has to be done for us to put into the plan to submit to the state, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
If I'm just a resident and I don't really, I do care about the plan, but let's pretend that you need my input on this survey. What are we actually doing with that? Like, why would I fill out this survey? Like, what, okay, let me.
Okay, yeah.
The question what I actually mean is like, what from this committee do we actually want to know that would be useful for us aside from checking the box to submit a plan?
Money is the answer, dollars.
Like the state will give us money.
Well,
Or like
We'll be
I-
eligible for grants.
I wish
to be
to, but yes, what it is basically, we wouldn't be eligible for any funding unless we have, in fact, currently we're not, because we don't have a current plan. Our plan is so far out of date, which is one of the reasons for doing this. Yeah.
So sorry, then just another quick follow-up question. So we don't actually really need any information from the public.
No, we
Sorry
don't.
to put it that
No,
way.
we have to do the survey, and we want the public's input so that
So
we
that we
can
know
be
what to
reflected in the goals of the plan.
Yeah,
Like, kind of like, what does the town want to do? Because
Yeah.
that is actually going to dictate, as Mike was saying when we first got here, that's actually going to dictate, we don't know what the plan's going to say, because we don't know what the town's priorities are. So it's like the foundation of what our goals are. There's some sections of the plan that are prescriptive that we have to write that doesn't matter what everybody thinks, but like, the end result and the biggest driver towards the plan is to find out what our goals are as a town for open space and recreation.
Right, like if residents feel that we need more playing fields or playgrounds, or there's enough of that and they'd rather, more passive recreation opportunities, different things like that can influence those goals.
And the goals actually have
Actionable items,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's,
Like acquire this
Hopefully
piece
that
of land
gets-
or preserve this piece of land. So.
Yeah,
I just wanted to.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
ask away, please, we're,
if you want to leave your email with Sadie, Sadie can send you the current version of the things that she has, and the very long one that I did, which I think would help you to understand what kinds of questions one's asking, and understand perhaps why. For example, one of the questions I think is important is, who filled out the questionnaire in a family situation? Because if dad did it, or if a kid did most of it, you're getting very different kinds of perspectives, which are important. Other stuff like that. Yep.
Cool.
In the questions, this is a little down the weeds. It's required that they put down where they live, because if we put QR codes up, anybody can go around and take the survey, and it's specific to people that live in Newbury.
Okay, so are you saying that we should make it like,
Well, they'd have to reside.
there
Yeah, Are
should
you
be-
a resident of Newbury? That has to be one of the questions, right?
Okay.
Either
Are you a
give their
resident of
address to.
I don't know that
Confirm
people
it.
would
Yeah.
want to give their address.
Do we want to keep it anonymous? Yeah.
Yeah,
Other than declaring that.
right, other than saying, are you a resident? That's like our only way to know it is the honor system.
I mean, you could put an optional field,
Yeah,
right?
at least what street,
I don't,
what
right.
street do you live
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
And not without any number, you could say optional, what street do you live on?
right. That might be a good idea. Just-
Or we could use the three sort of rough areas that the town's divided into,
Mhm.
which,
Okay.
you know, yeah, or derive our own for that matter. Yeah, possible, but I think you're right, it's important that if you have that information, you at least then can access it and use it where you feel it's important. Because I think it might, well, there's the whole issue, not for this discussion, but of Plum Island, which has a lot of issues that need to be talked about. Yeah.
So, I guess I just want to make sure I'm clear on how we're gonna come to agreement on the final questions. Because
Okay.
I know that there's a lot that have been floated out there, and I feel like it could take us a while to do that, and if we do it, we either do it in person, because I think that we have to do it like, you know, as part of an open discussion. But I feel like it warrants its own meeting, so, or like it warrants its own block, because it's just gonna
Yeah.
take us a while, like we all have to go back and review it, and then come already loaded with our comments, so that we can just hammer out what it looks like, so it seems like we might need like an interim meeting.
Sure.
If we actually wanna have the survey go out in March, we might need to have another.
I mean, if we just focused on the questions, we're having a meeting about questions, we could maybe just do like a Zoom. So it's really quick, you know,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah,
That would be good.
Do your questions, mark it up,
yeah.
and we'll just all meet on Zoom. Hopefully won't take too much people's time.
I wish I sent this out earlier, that was my bad.
It's fine.
Um,
And would you put also the one pager bullet? Because the language of that and the,
Yeah.
it's gonna be key, right?
Yeah, I just looked back and I don't see any, news flashes.
Right.
And I went back a whole year, and I know that we talked about it in May, and I don't see it. So I feel like we could do home news and announcements.
Yep.
You know, and let's round up the language that we had from last year and put it out there, and then say, you know, would you like to sign up for? And then give people the option, like find a way technologically, the inner workings of town hall, which I'm gonna leave to you, how people could actually do that, sign up.
Sign
If
up.
they're interested in open space community.
like for news updates, basically?
Yeah, from the open space and recreation plan updates, do you wanna keep abreast on that? And then keep your eyes peeled for a survey, which is coming out soon. I almost feel like it could be like a two different announcements.
Yeah.
Here's the open space committee, where we could do that this week, and then we can work on the questions for the survey, and then we can launch the survey electronically in a few weeks. Yes. And then maybe we can follow up with a meeting, in-person meeting.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
So I will, or David, do you have, I don't know if I ever got a copy of the survey, a digital version. Did you send that to everybody?
That's what I sent you.
Okay. I'll go back and check. I was just.
Oh, well, I can send it to you again, I don't have it.
That's
No,
fine. I just
Right,
wasn't
yeah,
sure if there
yeah,
was additional.
yeah.
Okay.
Just an idea about some places where, if you wanted to just use the paper surveys, town meeting would certainly be one place. And of course, voting, if we had a town vote or something like that going on, I don't know if we are, but, and I don't know what again, I'm not sure when we gotta close on all this and say, okay, that's it, the survey's over.
It would seem with town meeting April.
22nd.
Yeah.
Or 29th.
Did they move it out? Yeah.
Yeah.
Still vacation, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
If it's just gonna be paper, who's gonna be like inputting all the data? Because to
Oh.
get a graph, like,
That would be me.
yeah, so just.
That's fine.
Well, you said that's fine, but like 2,000.
Well, I feel like we will end up having both online and physical for like, you know, the few people who don't really use technology. Like, I just want to have the option. And I feel like people with the ease of technology will choose the,
Yeah, I feel like 9 out of 10 people will go,
Yeah.
hit the QR code.
yeah.
Hi.
Would we, so the paper one would be collected, we don't want to force people to mail it necessarily.
I feel like it could
Drop it off.
be like a
Drop
sort
it
of,
off, we probably want to, can we have a few, if you're living on Palm Island, coming here to drop it off is maybe unrealistic, so. But that's.
You're
good.
not into technology, then you
Yeah.
have to drop it off, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, could you have multiple,
Let's
like a few
limit
spots?
what's
Or you could mail it, but you have to have your own stamp and envelope.
Could you have
Yeah.
some spot out there for them to go? I know I'm getting into the details, but it would seem.
no, that's important
We're
to,
gonna drop it off at Kristen's office.
yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Interested people.
I don't know,
Just like a box.
I'm not sure what we're talking about, but we've got a box right outside the door upstairs where people drop off planning stuff all the time.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
Survey response, like public survey responses, we're trying to
Yeah.
decide for if someone wants to do a
on paper,
on-paper version.
yes, we can do that.
Perfect. I knew that something.
Yes.
Why don't we just
It's
call
good
it-
to have.
Collect them at the meeting, I mean.
That's what I was thinking, maybe just have them fill it out, like a little
Yeah.
period where
I
they can fill
mean,
it
they
out.
can always, of course, bring them over to Kristen's
Yeah,
office.
yeah, yeah.
But, or
Yeah.
hit the QR code on the thing too, either way, you know. So, yeah. That sounds good.
Anything else about the survey?
Do we want to schedule a date for that Zoom meeting then?
Sure.
Or do that at the end of the?
I do have a quick thought, and that is, would it work for the discussion that you were thinking about, we need to have about what's in the survey, if the members of the committee went through whatever it is a sort of the initial draft proposal, and simply said yes, no, maybe to the questions, because then we have some idea of whether some of the questions are problematic and others are kind of very basic. In other words, if we survey ourselves, does that make any sense?
You mean actually take the survey and answer the questions, or, which I think we did say, everybody review all the questions
Yeah.
and come to the meeting with your comments and, you
Yeah.
know, yes, no, maybe, seems like a good, easy way to
Yeah.
categorize your comments.
Right, and
Yeah.
actually, if we sent that just simply numbered to Sadie, she can then say, oh boy, here's a question that everybody feels, with maybe an exception, or here's a question that everybody feels is bad, or.
Yeah, then we don't even have to talk about questions
Yeah.
1 through 5, because they got all yeses.
Right.
Yeah,
Then let's just
Right.
spend 30 minutes on the ones
right,
that are
because
here.
I think,
Yeah.
It'll make-
Okay.
I mean, I knew when I did what I did, that it was a huge portmanteau kind of thing. You know, I stuffed everything in it I thought should be there if you were, you know, interviewing somebody for the rest of their life or something. Largely so we wouldn't miss something that other people thought was important.
Yeah.
So it might be a way to do it, and that way if you send out what it is you want us to review,
We'll have it narrowed down a little bit
yeah,
more.
then we can
Okay.
review it and say, you know, simply by the numbers and say yes, no, maybe with any, my particular comment, like, well, for example, I don't know, something happened recently where somebody was threatening to do something if you didn't behave on the trail. Oh, I know, it was the trail, the new trail at Caldwell Farms.
Yeah.
And there were two young guys there who were proposing that people were, you know, going to get in big trouble. You can't do that on a public notice. I mean, you don't do that when you want people to, you know,
Yeah.
get involved with the trail, et cetera, et cetera. And in
Oh,
the
for the
same-
sign
on the
on the
top.
trail,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, in the same way, there are certain things you really probably can't ask people. in the way that maybe something is phrased. You have to be
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah, well, we can review that for sure.
Yeah.
Every word, we'll review every word.
Yes.
I'm forgetting, did we talk about what is kind of the optimal length for the survey? Because we certainly, obviously, don't want to, you want it to be reasonable, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
we can
Do
do
you want to
that.
like have
as-
it like 10 questions, no more than 10 questions or something? I don't know.
Yeah,
Do
maybe,
we want-
maybe when we're doing that first, yes, no, maybe
Yeah.
coming to that meeting, we can then also
I can.
formulate in our minds or
Yeah,
somehow.
I can send, because I was just reading one, I can't remember if it was from 2010 or 2000, but it was a really nice, concise little
Yeah.
survey with, like the first 2 or 3 questions were just circle, like 1, 2, or 3, like how strongly you feel about something, and then there was like, what do you like most about living in Newbury, what do you like least, any other thoughts? Like, I thought that was like a perfect length, so it wouldn't take people too much time. I can send that, and then along with the one that we're thinking of for this plan.
And no more than 10.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Set expectations
Yeah.
on the blurb or whatever.
Yeah.
The one we had for the organizations is, what, 5 to 7, maybe, I think it was, questions?
I can't remember. but-
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah,
it was a little more open-ended.
yeah, but just thinking, I don't know,
Absolutely think it could be
people
towards.
engaged and not like, this is too much.
And so, like, I feel like, let's look at all the questions and then we'll just sort of
Yeah.
pare down the ones. And I think we had written a bunch of questions too, so we'll send you those so you can just send them all. And then everybody can just comment.
Right.
Sounds great.
So looking at the calendar, our next meeting is going to be the 18th of March. So that if we were to keep it to Tuesdays, that would give us the 4th or the 11th for as a half hours in the meeting. Does anybody have any preference there? I'm open on either day.
11 doesn't work for me,
11's no good? Okay.
the 4th works,
With either.
which
So
is
we'll-
next week.
So
Yeah.
next week.
So we gotta, by the end of the week. then.
Are you out of hours? We'll let you see here.
We'll
We'll
leave
know
that
if it's
out.
gonna happen or not, because that would mean you have to send it out in advance.
Or we can do it a day.
Or we can do the 18th.
Wait. What's today? Today's the 25th. I could do that for next Tuesday. I think I can.
If you're showing up after having reviewed it though, like, you would have to send it out by, almost like this Friday so that we could review it.
Right.
So we could show up on Tuesday with the,
Or we could pick another day.
or we could,
Doesn't have
just,
be
doesn't have to be
Tuesday.
Tuesday either, right? We could do it.
That's true.
Just, it's like so we're scheduling an interim meeting so we can move forward on.
Just to have the survey
meeting.
questions.
Sounds good.
Like Thursday the
Yeah.
13th.
Give you a little more time.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thursday the 13th, you
What
said?
about, I'm just sort of tossing.
I'm gone that whole week.
You're
Sorry.
not, no,
Yeah, sorry.
No, no worries. Thursday the 6th.
6th,
Thursday, March 6th.
I'm just looking at.
yeah, that's halfway between.
Oh, no, we can't do Thursday, I can't do that.
I think we're concerned just about timing if we hold till our meeting on the 18th. Like as far as like turnaround time to, April. Is that,
I think, yeah.
Well,
Do you have anything, Christine, about putting the survey, or trying to finish it by, well, that's just a long time.
Well, you're in tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
So we could work on it together in the afternoon and
yeah, I honestly don't think it's that unrealistic.
it's just a compiling thing, you're not like
Just
creating
compiling
a survey
it.
monkey or something, right?
No,
Just like a Word doc.
I was gonna go through David's questions, you
Yeah.
guys have some questions, and then, I was going to send it out to everybody, everyone would review, and then I could compile the most popular ones, and then we'd have the meeting to talk about, like, what we want the survey to look like, based on everyone's thoughts.
So you want comments back and then send it back again before the meeting? Or is the meeting the chance for everyone to give their thoughts to you? The interim meeting?
I think it was gonna be a little bit of back and forth before the interim meeting, but do we want to
So that the meeting is super brief, so if we all agreed on like questions 5, 10, 11, 12, then we don't even talk about those at the meeting, because everybody's already agreed that they should be in it. So we can only talk about the ones that
And,
we need to talk about.
and everyone's already like gone over it on their own time, so they know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Instead of going over it right now, so we're talking about it.
Open meeting laws, we can't do anything in secret.
Exactly.
You know, just to explain, like, that's why we have to do something like that, you know, we can't just like decide on our own outside of a meeting and, you know, it's, so.
So,
We can actually workshop. Yes? Can't
With a
we?
small, not as a big group, can't we only do it like, a couple of us can get together?
Well, no.
You can have less than a quorum, work like a subcommittee that's less than a quorum. Okay. Which, did you guys get a point?
We did.
Thank you. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So your quorum is now 4. Okay. Well, interesting. Who's the math person in the room? Jen? Is the quorum 3 or 4? If you have
So
a
maybe-
meeting of
It's gotta be the
6.
majority, it's gotta be
Majority, so
4.
4. And,
So is 3.
Well, actually, but
safe
people
for
think
open
that,
meeting?
people, I mean, regulations define what is a quorum, so I guess I'm not sure what the town
Yeah.
regulations
I,
define.
because most committees are odd numbers, so you don't run into this math problem. So I will check on it. But I would say, I mean, would 2 of you be able to work on the survey? Bring it, or you want everybody?
That's true. Does
1
anybody wanna
week is
review
too much
this?
time
I
to
do.
send the thing out, get the feedback in, send it out again, and then have a meeting. That's not enough time. But if you just want to send it out, get everyone to look at it, and then get together and go through it very efficiently in half an hour, I think you could meet on the 4th,
yeah.
right?
Do we want to go with that plan then? I think that's a good plan.
To see where you can get.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
And if we need more time, then we'll just
yeah, yeah.
do it.
And so we have to post that meeting by Thursday,
Thursday. We can do that.
okay?
We can set up the Zoom. Yep, we're
Yeah.
good. No
So, one more time, final plan is, I will compile all the survey questions, send it out to everybody, and then we'll just meet on the 4th.
Mhm.
Does that
Yep.
work?
And you'll send out a public notice about the meeting by Thursday.
By Thursday, okay.
Do you want to do 6:30?
6:30 on Zoom?
Let's do that, because
And then you guys send out the link, right?
So, should we see who should take on, like, drafting up, refreshing where we landed on the announcement, so that we can get that posted to the website? Remember last year we had drafted language about an announcement? But we just checked the website and I didn't see that we ever posted it under home news and announcements on the website, on the Town of Newbury website. So we wanted to draft something that says open space committee plan, back in action, whatever. We had already drafted language, and then say if you're interested, you know, please sign up for the updates and keep your eyes peeled for a survey, so that in a couple of weeks when we're ready, then we send out another notice. Is there any limit on notices? That we send out and say, please take the survey.
So your question is not to the open space distribution, because I'm pretty sure that's on the open space committee page, right? But not the homepage of the website.
Yeah, I wanted to send it out to the homepage of the
Yeah.
web of like Town of
Yeah.
Newbury that says, are you interested in open space? Click here.
That's a news item.
Yeah, as a news
Yeah.
item.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're doing.
Can we do that?
It's, so the difference is I do not have access to the homepage, just saying, it's more of a process to get something approved to be posted on the homepage. It's just like not in the planning
Yeah.
oversight. So we can definitely work on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
I am just curious though, is it on? Can you just check
Yeah.
on the
It is, yeah,
open
open
space
space
page?
committee is ramping up. Yep.
Okay.
We're regularly meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sign up here for meeting dates and agenda items.
Yeah.
So we might
But we're
already
on a
have
higher
some,
level of, yeah.
just some more visibility to let people know that there's a survey coming. So if we could do like 2, one
Okay.
hello, and then one, here's the survey.
Yep. we can
Just curious, how
work
did
on
you
it.
guys hear about the meeting?
That's how I heard about
They did, on that, okay.
it.
So it works.
Fantastic.
I heard about it from him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
And it was the parking pass that were on the website, so, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the time to check in the new year, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
See what else is going on. Good, so we have that stuff visible. It's
Dogs
very
or
helpful.
beaches? Yeah.
Beaches.
Yeah, exactly.
Big
One or
old
the other
beach,
gets people
yeah.
in this building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good feedback.
And
All right.
we went to the town meeting, that was probably the last time we engaged
Yeah,
in anything.
so it is good to have it on the website. Good.
Alright, so I just wanted to make sure we're hitting all these. So was there a meeting with Merrimack Valley?
Yeah, that was just, I wanted to talk about her recommendations about how to do the public outreach and stuff, which was how I led into talk about the survey and everything.
Gotcha, okay.
I'd say that's all there is to that
Okay.
item.
Alright, then, we have our individual sections that we've been working on. So we have a bullet here, progress or questions on individual sections. We had no due date or deadlines on those yet, so we're just trying to start working on those. Does anybody have any questions, or have you been working on your sections and you want to share your progress?
Yeah. I mean, I can start, or somebody else can start, I'm trying to find that stuff here.
Go ahead.
I mostly had questions revolving, I have a lot of tables in my section, so I have section 5, which is the inventory of lands of conservation and rec interest. And there's, 10, 12 tables in this section that I've gathered the majority of the data for. I haven't updated them all yet, because I had a couple questions just to see if we still wanted certain tables or if we wanted to reorganize a couple of things. And I just didn't want to make that call on my own. We have a table, the first table in that section lists out permanently protected properties over 100 acres. We also have subsequent tables that talk about different organizations in town and their land protection efforts, whether it's Greenbelts, Parker Wildlife Refuge, etc. To me, it seemed a little redundant to have, like the permanently over 100 and then be kind of like listing kind of the same thing again, a table or two later. So I kind of thought about just eliminating the over 100. And table 2 actually just highlights the Essex County Greenbelt's efforts in town. I thought about morphing table 2, to kind of include all those outside organizations that are operating in town, whether it's Audubon, the trustees, Greenbelt, Parker River, all that, and just kind of condensing that a little bit. I don't know. I know it's hard, not all looking at the same thing, but I don't know. I was trying to just see if I could squash some of that info in.
That sounds efficient. I feel like as long as it complies with the requirements from the state,
Right.
I would be happy with doing that, eliminating a table and merging 2 others to make it
Okay.
just one. I mean, I'm supportive. Any other?
Sounds good.
So
Makes sense.
we should maybe, like, you and Sadie and I maybe talk through some of this.
Okay.
I suggest, just because she and I have been talking about this too, because a lot of this gathering is like through the GIS, right?
Which is what I've been, most
So
of it,
we've
like,
already.
I have, 2024 assessors data from town, directly available to me through GIS.
Yeah,
I got all the 61 information from the assessor, so that was valid mid-year 2024. I mean, again, with any report, table, whatever, it's outdated as soon as you hit send, right? But, so I have all that. I used, the Mass GIS open space layer to get all the parcel information, or in conjunction with, the assessor's information that I had for all the other organizations in town. And, I just have all that in different Excel sheets that I've kind of sorted for the acreages, or, I've kind of hacked them up, and moved like town-owned stuff to one table, and then, more the public-private organizations in a different table.
yeah.
So I've just been kind of manipulating that data, and that's why I paused on like actually importing it into the Word document.
Yeah, Yeah.
It was kind of another question too. Word is not the most fun thing to put tables in,
Yeah.
especially when you might be dealing with, 50, 60 more
Right.
lines, like, do you want me to still do that? Is that the best thing to like keep things organized, be able to mesh things, or should I, use Excel and, convert to PDFs and things get merged in the final? I'm happy to do whatever. I just didn't want to like put everything in Word and have you be like, oh, you could have just done this in Excel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I
so,
keep it in tables just until the time that we're
Okay.
putting it all together, because that'll be like a crazy.
okay, so just keep it as like separate Excel tables for the moment
I think
and
so.
not update the actual
Yeah, I
Word
mean,
document
For
table.
now.
I don't see, I feel like that would be like a formatting thing for, like, when we're dealing with all that.
Because if the tables need to be kind of
Yeah,
quality checked, then they're gonna change anyway, and hopefully at the end, you just like make it PDF.
So it's easier for you right now to have just the Excel sheets putting in the data and everything?
yeah, because it's really easy for me to export all the information right out of GIS straight into Excel.
Okay.
So then I have it all in an Excel table with all those columns, and then I can remove unnecessary columns that come with GIS data, and kind of get it to like what we want, just, ownership names, parcel information, acreages, and just kind of have that condensed for us.
Yeah.
And the- Go
The
ahead.
final version is gonna be in PDF anyway, so that can't be, so, do it in Excel, it seems to me, because GIS stuff only really lends itself to Excel, right? In
Absolutely.
Word, it's like, ugh,
But I didn't want to do that and then
no.
whoever was compiling the final report, now it's like, making page breaks in Word in order to now put an outside table into the document. Like, the way the document flows right now, it's just continuous, right? Like, everything's just meshed right in there. So that's why I didn't want to go too far in one direction and then have somebody be like, wow, you created a whole bunch of.
Yeah, just put in where, just put the table number and name, and then have an Excel file companion
Yeah.
that someone can go find
Okay,
for now.
great. Okay, and those questions.
So I was sort of assuming MVPC would have to do this for
Yeah.
us, and we do. Did you say this? We're meeting with Steve Lopez. 'Cause-
She said that tomorrow or.
So this is just helpful, because like anything you've already done, we don't have to have them do. But we did, Sadie and I talked a little about I agree with the comments you made at the beginning about questioning why the category of properties over 100 acres.
Yeah.
And I just thought, that's kind of interesting, and you
It is.
actually had a great point. So you brought up like, well, large properties have different, higher level of ecological value,
Yeah.
right, in general. So highlighting those, maybe that's, you guys would know, but maybe that's what the decision was in the last plan to include that. But on the next one, where Greenbelt's like here, and
Yeah,
that's weird to me, right? Because like, why not have all the open space and then you can
Right.
just identify or sort by who the owner is? I don't know the reason behind
Well-
pulling out a specific owner.
maybe that's because the other organizations' lands are over 100 acres. Whereas like
So there are.
Greenbelt's got,
Yeah.
50 acre, 25 acre, all these different parcels, but, the feds, the state, the trustees, and even Spencer Pierce, Little Farm, are all 100+ acre pieces.
Yeah.
So that's probably why, and I think that's, I kind of looked at that and I was like, oh, well, that's everybody but the one other organization.
Interesting.
So should it just go together? But I'm happy to keep them separate too, I just wanted to ask before I went too far.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the significance of 100
Yeah,
plus was in the first place.
yeah.
I think it was an arbitrary kind of figure that somehow came up.
Then those maybe those properties stay at the top of the table, you know what I mean? And so you're just happening to see, Park River Wildlife Refuge first,
Right.
Martin Burns, all the different state properties, the trustees, Spencer Pierce, and then kind of the Greenbelt listings.
Historic New England Sea has a couple of small ones, the Dole House and
Right.
the one up It's almost in Newburyport.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Hillsview.
Yeah,
But no, I think it makes much more sense to do it in relation to property which is held by, the major conservation organizations. Because that makes the point that this town has a lot more than most towns do.
yeah, absolutely. And maybe maybe we just bold the acreage numbers when they're over 100, something to really like call it out or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember and talk at the same time.
Yeah. Great job. We'll take your notes for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would just make the point that any open space is open space. If it's permanently
Yeah.
protected, it's important to make note of, and then you can kind of, the table in terms of just being sort of a list. And then our work is to look at it and think about it and sort of discuss whether there are any actions that this leads us to think about or whatever. Like David's point, a takeaway is there are a lot of partner stakeholder organizations in this town that the municipality has a benefit of. Okay, how can we support their work?
Right.
And compared with other towns, the town itself holds very little.
Yeah,
Great Meadow being the obvious one, which is of any size, but
Yeah.
all the others are, a lot of town-owned properties are, trashy anyway, frankly. I mean, there's sort of bits of left over. There's one right outside of my house, actually. It's tiny, a tiny little triangle that nobody wanted.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and one of the tables is town-owned stuff, and there's a column that, labels the protection level, if it's actually permanently protected or if it's, limited, in that table there too.
Well, I think the 61A, 61B things get to be very important in
Oh, yeah.
relation, right?
Yeah, that's a whole nother table, the 61 stuff.
Right, but what I'm saying is that I'm looking at what tables tell you important things about the nature of the community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge amount of work, Mike. That's hugely helpful.
Yes,
I think we're farther along with that.
Yes. I agree.
and I mean, I'm happy to send if you just want me to just send the Excel sheets to you now, or I can do a little more cleaning up on them too.
Well, maybe if you want to send them just as they are, we can talk about it with Steve, and we can actually have something this is what we have right now.
Sure.
Doesn't have to be perfect, but just so we have a place marker of where we are.
I think the issue is that my map doesn't have any updates. in it.
Yeah,
So that's gonna be something we need to talk about, but maybe we can touch base about that.
sure.
The NVPC viewer, that My Map that's on the town website that you can check the open space on and off and look at all the data layers. They're the ones who are gonna make the big maps for the plan, which you guys probably already talked about. But anyway, their data isn't updated. I'm sure the data you've been gathering through these tables is probably gonna be more updated, so I'm just kind of wondering, we don't need them to
Yeah, don't they
redo
get,
the work that's already done, yeah.
don't they have regular downloads from assessors? I think they do.
Yes, parcel data, but
Yeah,
not as
yearly.
conservation restrictions and stuff like that.
So
Right.
it should be in the parcel data.
Thank you.
Thank you for remembering this.
All right, so I didn't want to break this conversation we're making, but there was an item on here to discuss with Board of Boston.
That's something that I specifically wondering about.
Yeah, we wanted to switch the agenda around a
Yeah.
little bit to cover that now, and then maybe we can cover some of the other items.
Yeah.
Because I think, actually, were you interested in Boston to Border?
Yep.
Yeah, she's interested in Boston to Border too.
Yeah.
So can we do that update?
And
Yeah.
that's fine with too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sorry, we were a little late on the proposal.
Yeah.
this time.
Okay. Hi.
I'm Mary.
Mary.
What's the filming going on?
That's required for the meeting.
It's all town meetings have video.
Can you zoom into this meeting? You don't do
No.
zooming at
No,
all?
no.
You're only in person?
Yeah.
Okay,
We're being recorded.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Hybrid doesn't happen very easily. So most committee meetings are either in person or totally on Zoom, but in either case, there's a video of the meeting.
Okay, gotcha.
So, yeah.
All right.
So, welcome, thank you. I'm Kristen. The Board of Boston update is things are moving again, which they've been quite stalled. There has been work in the past that the town has done. There's been a committee. I don't believe the committee has met in years. Were you a part of the committee?
I live in Raleigh,
Okay.
but I cleared a section of it. The one that goes from downtown across from the post office to Forest Street.
Okay.
Oh, right.
We cleared that. Because we get down to the end of Forest Street, hook a right, and go into the Crane Pond Wildlife Management Area.
Okay. Yep.
And that's how we're getting to it. And I tried, National Grid, and they were like, we do it every 5 years.
So
If
under
that.
the utility corridor is what you're talking about, yeah, okay.
That's the trail, is between the two big,
Well, there isn't technically a trail yet, it's
We're doing
in
it.
engineering and it's.
well, the guys are out surveying,
Yes,
and they keep going, we don't know nothing, lady. We're just the company survey.
That's a good sign though, right? That
They're
So-
surveying.
they're out surveying.
They're
yeah.
surveying in the freezing, they're digging holes, they're sticking up stakes. So, to say that's a hole.
so National Grid is out, or you've seen the.
No,
survey?
National Grid, the
Yeah.
contractors, the guys that
Yeah.
are doing the surveying.
Yeah.
National Grid is
So Mass
nowhere to
DOT,
be seen.
okay, so Mass DOT hired the survey company, they've been out in the fall, I didn't know they were still out.
Oh, they're out more so now than they were in the fall. It's bizarre.
Okay.
Little orange tapes everywhere, little holes everywhere. Well, there they are. Hey,
Okay.
how you doing, guys? Good.
All right.
They were,
They're doing it to
So what
litigation,
I'm
or they
wondering
survey.
about is, the Boston Border Trail, from what I can figure out, is that you got a bridge problem.
There are 25% design plans that have just been completed for the Byfield to Georgetown segment, which starts at the post office and includes the section you're talking about and includes
And then it
off of
goes,
Forest Street and where the bridge is out
Right.
on River Street and then continues on to Georgetown. That's one segment and it has a Mass DOT project number. It's been worked on for a decade at
but
least.
is that the problem with the bridges, right? That is down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bridge is down for the vehicle.
Not the
road.
vehicles, but the other one.
There's another.
Yeah.
On
And
the,
There are
Deep one,
multiple
the railroad,
sections that will
yeah,
need
bed.
bridges.
Yeah,
It's
that'll
been
need a
out
bridge.
For years.
Yes. So that's gonna need a bridge.
It will need a bridge.
All right, so that's the section you
So
got.
those plans, there will be a public hearing on the 25% design plans for that segment
Huh.
in April. We're setting the date now, it's probably gonna be held either here or at the Georgetown Town Hall. It's a joint project between Georgetown and Newbury. That segment is in 25% design plans. Once the public hearing happens, public comments, and then Mass DOT has funding to continue the designs and engineering to get to the next 75%, 90% design plans. Once it's designed,
Man.
there is money in the state's transportation investment program, the TIP for construction. So there's been construction money in the TIP for years that just keeps getting bumped because the engineering and design has gotten stalled. They got the 25% design plans were done in March 2020. They were planning the public hearing.
COVID hit.
COVID hit.
And that's the.
In that time, the beavers came out, the wetlands moved, conditions changed on the ground, so that's why the resurveying has been being done this fall.
Interesting.
So it's finally moving again. There's a project manager at Mass DOT working with Georgetown and Newbury. That meeting's coming up. It'll probably be the week of April 7th. So I'll definitely
So it's Georgetown to downtown Byfield is the section that is getting worked on now.
Correct.
From Byfield over to Route 95, nobody's doing anything.
There's been a feasibility study that was done a couple years ago, and there has not been any survey engineering. We are working on.
Because they're surveying that section. They went out there and put in little orange tapes.
Okay, well, there could be different things going on because there's not currently a trail there. To my knowledge, there isn't currently anyone being paid to do anything out there, but maybe there is, and I don't know about it. I will look into that.
Because all this is a wonderful lesson in how not to do it, isn't it? I mean, this no, Eddie, come on.
What does that mean, David?
What that means is that if we were in Maine, we would have had these trails 5-10 years ago. Okay?
That's because they allow snowmobiling.
That's right.
Sorry.
No, but, you know, I mean, what happened was the federal government, if you want the history very quickly, the federal government realized that all of these abandoned and being abandoned rail tracks, okay, across the country were a way of giving a real gift to outdoors folks, and particularly in the Northeast to snowmobilers, right? And so what happened was money became available, everybody started doing it, the Border to Boston Trail was part of that, because everybody discovered, oh gee, we had Guilford here and they built these railroads 100 years ago. And then what happened? Mass DOT got involved and everything came to a grinding halt because they wanted to design, I mean, they are absurd. You won't go to the one in Newburyport, which is in the same sort of thing, and you have stop signs. You have I mean, you know, it's a mini road, okay? And this is to prevent what? Bicyclists running over, I don't know, kids in perambulators or something. And frankly, having spent a fair amount of time in Maine, what I simply know is I can ride on an average mountain bike hundreds of miles of trails in Maine, which are not paved, which are dirt, and they would accomplish bridging the problem with the beavers or whatever it might be, yeah, or whomever, with a snowmobile bridge. And that would be it, and the trail would be open.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying about this being a lesson in how not to do it, because we also have the fact that staring us in the face is the whole Scotland Road issue.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, so from Georgetown, because that's where it ends right now, roughly, the Border to Boston Trail?
No, it goes to Boston.
No, I mean the completed section. From Georgetown to Byfield is not completed. Up to Georgetown is completed.
Oh, no. There are different segments
There are
being
parts,
worked
right?
on all the way
Okay,
along.
so it's 25%, and that's what is being worked on now. From Byfield over to 95 and the Martin Burns isn't going to be worked on.
It is a priority for the people involved in Border Boston to keep working on everything. But there isn't currently any project that's being funded. It's not a Mass DOT project yet.
Oh, okay.
The town does have an earmark, and this was the other thing that's,
Deep sigh.
this is what I do on my weekends, basically, is this kind of work, because there's no time for it during the week. However, the town received an earmark to build a boardwalk in the Byfield section back when the beavers had made the wetlands a certain way. That earmark is no longer required now that we have this updated survey work from the Byfield to Georgetown section. So that earmark, as of January, has been made available to the town to use for a different work, for different Ward of Boston work. So what we're working on is drafting a project scope and an RFP for using that earmark on the Byfield to Newburyport. And what my understanding is needs to be done is take the feasibility that's been done on the Byfield to Scotland Road segment, and then look at the next segment. There's sort of 3 chunks in Newbury. Byfield to Georgetown, Byfield to wherever, whether it's Martin Burns or Scotland Road or somewhere else to get across 95, and then the last chunk to get to hook up to the Clipper City Rail Trail in Newburyport. So what I've been trying to find time to work on is to draft an RFP to, because it's a chunk of money, it's a $250,000 earmark with a match from Mass DOT, so it's $312,500 that we have in an earmark that has to get obligated for September, which RFP processes when you have to use Mass DOT standards are not simple. But I think we're working on it, so I've been talking with Newburyport, I've been talking with the transportation team at Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, and I think we're going to be able to structure a project that looks at the feasibility of the different routes, because there are still questions around Scotland Road, Martin Burns, or other alternatives. Apparently, there's an old cow tunnel just north of between
95?
Scotland Road
Yeah.
and Hale Street.
Yeah, it goes under the highway.
Under
But it's-
the highway.
I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't been out there in a while, but it's been blocked off for a while.
Yeah,
Right.
And I don't know the last time you tried to walk across the common pasture was, but it's very soft. Okay.
it's very wet.
So the 3 sections are Byfield to Georgetown, that's the 25% that they're working on right now. The second one is Byfield to Scotland Road, or Martin Burns, or how to get around that, and then the third is from there up to Newburyport.
Correct.
Okay. The reason why I ask is that we're trying to figure out how much time we have left to horseback ride on it, because that's what we're using it for. We're the one crossing downtown Byfield. And that's why I'm looking at that bridge and saying, the wooden bridge that's when you go off of River Street, you go to the right, you go over the bridge, the road bridge, and then you take a right and there's a wooden bridge, and we're looking at it and saying, can 1,000 pounds?
Right.
And trying to find somebody, I'm ready to walk her across and say, let's try it. But I can't find anybody to tell me, because that'll open up that whole section. But we did clear that one section out, and we're very happy to see everybody's using it. They're walking it, they're cross-country skiing it. We also cleared in the Minuteman, in the Crane Pond Wildlife Management too. That trail, Camp 16 opened up, and then when you go to the end, the beaver dams have taken it over, but the drought made it so that you could get around it. So we were able to get around on the other side, but once the drought ended, forget it. What I'm curious about is West Newbury a part of Newbury?
No,
No, shit, that's too bad.
we came first.
Okay, then they were the second ones, right, well, because ECTA is,
Maybe the third.
Essex County Trail Association of West Newbury, and I was trying to get them involved, and they were like, you're not Hamilton, you're not Ipswich, we're not going over there really. Can you build us a little bridge? But they're putting all their money, you're smiling, because you know I'm right. You know I'm right. It's all the ladies over in Hamilton and Ipswich that are getting those bridges built, and I'm like, can't you just put, it's only this much? And she's like, I said, it's West Newbury, and she's like, you could hear her growling on the other end of the phone.
Well, I mean,
so anyway.
the utility quarter is owned by National Grid, so
Yeah,
it's
they-
not like the town to just go build a bridge on.
No, this is in the Crane Pond Wildlife Management.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the other side of it, it's going over to Crane Neck, the road over there. Yeah. All right, well, that gives me an idea. It gives us, tells us how long we have, because once it gets built, the horses aren't allowed, which sucks. But I figure it's going to be a few years, don't you?
Sounds like it.
Keep riding it.
Keep riding the joy.
Why not? Until someone tells you not to.
Yeah, whatever, nobody's saying anything.
Yeah.
I bought a little chainsaw, and, we got that all cleared out nice.
Does ETA have a presence in anyone here in town?
ECTA, Essex
Yeah.
County Trail Association?
No, they're big.
No,
West-
they're
West
not this
Newbury.
catchment area, they're Ipswich,
Right.
Hamilton, Topsfield, West Newbury.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that trail ended at West Newbury where the damn beavers are. And of
Right.
course, you
Yeah,
know,
right.
part, when you call it the Wildlife Management Association, well, the beavers have a right, and I said, not all 4,000 of them, you know. I hate
Okay,
beavers, because they
right.
really are. But anyway, that's what I was curious about, is how much time we have. But we were the ones that cleared out that section.
Okay.
And then there's been very nice people on Forest Avenue. And then I am really wondering, is this bridge, you know, Chris, you know, Marcus, was it Marshall? Or who was it that, Marvin? What's his name? The kid on the commission.
Oh, what is his name?
Kid,
I
you
don't
know.
know what you're talking about.
The Conservation Commission
Oh, the kid.
that we met
The
with.
conservation agent? Was
Mason, there you go. Mason Barrett, the kid. He said,
The other young person.
he said Kristen may be able to, yeah, you know, they're all kids. He said, Kristen may be able to tell me if this bridge is, it's this one. And I figure if I can hold a cement thing like that on there, that can take a 1,200-pound horse.
Are you asking me whether I think you can walk your horse across that? Is that
Do you
the
know
question?
whose bridge this is and who put it in?
That is property owned by National Grid. That is the utility corridor owned by National Grid. They own it in fee.
Okay.
So they will have to give easements to the Board of Boston Trail.
They will have to what?
They have to give easements to the Board of Boston Trail, to the public, to use their property. That's part of what some of the holdups around in other towns are, the negotiations with National Grid. For instance, in Georgetown, some of the Board of Boston Trail corridor is owned by National Grid, and some of the areas, National Grid owns easements on
Yeah.
property that's privately owned. So that's even more complicated in terms of the trail
That it is.
being established for public access, yeah.
Okay.
Newbury's section is owned by National Grid.
Okay.
So I don't know who the contact person is, but I can look into it.
Well, in your spare time.
Yeah, I mean, there's someone in touch with Mass DOT about this segment, someone from National Grid. I have not met that person yet, but I can ask.
Are they coming, well, DOT might know the answer to that question. Are they coming to the public hearing on April 7th?
They're running a public hearing, yeah.
So they could, that person might possibly have the contact information too.
Yeah.
If it's a question you put in.
Yeah. Okay, can you, how do I find it? Because I don't live in town, I live in Raleigh. I mean, we keep our horses down the road.
You can sign
Well,
up for the
that's-
email
I love
updates
the
now.
post office. Wow, I love
You
your
can
post
sign up for the email updates. So is it who's hosting them? Where would the announcement come from? The town.
May I get,
Open space.
okay, so if
Yeah.
if I say, we have an open space committee, then I'm all set to get the April
Yeah,
7th?
yeah.
All right. And so,
Can you leave me your email
I
address?
was gonna say, very important that we get this lady's contact information
Did we get
because,
I got a chainsaw.
right. She also clearly
I got a
belongs to a
sheep
group
chainsaw.
of people I appreciate, right? In the sense you get it done, you don't,
I tried, and then I said, and I
Yeah,
went ahead,
exactly.
and she and I in August, sweating bullets. But like I said, you got much less greenhouse over here and
Yeah.
mosquitoes. It's like, man, I need to
Your
get over
email
here.
and-
Here you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I got it, all right.
All right.
But it is sad that we are all,
Thank you
we are
for
saying to
your
ourselves, oh man, you know, once they get this done, they're gonna kick us off. You don't like the horse poop?
So do other segments of the Board of Boston Trail throughout Massachusetts not allow horses?
We read it. We read the fine print and it said no horses, and we we're like, shit. You know, so we thought, that sucks.
Well, you should come to the public hearing and make a case that horse segment should be
I mean,
allowed.
if it's on Forest Street, I drive back with my shovel and I pick up that poop. I'm a good dude. But if it's on the, you know, whatever, we're good. And Crane Pond is okay. It's got the two trails that we can do. You know, you stay to the left, there's more swamp to the right. We would like to get over, but if we could get over that bridge, that opens up the whole other side of Crane Pond Wildlife. And I use GIS, love it.
Yeah.
Boom, take a picture.
Is that,
Isn't it something?
is that?
There you go, Mary Kay Boston.
Thank you.
I got stuck with that email.
Okay.
Okay, I've
Thank
been
you.
retired 6 years, this has been my first meeting.
Ah.
Damn.
On a roll now.
Damn, I don't know. I'm like, this is what meetings are like, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's the kind of attitude.
I just wrote,
It's done.
discussion ensued.
Perfect.
I know her name from somewhere though. I've definitely heard her name before.
What's her last name?
Keys? Mary Keys, I think is what she said there.
Okay.
Something.
Another one.
Anyways,
All right, so, are we supposed to be reporting on contacts? Yes, still? Are we on that item?
I have one more question.
Yeah,
Finish
right.
that section. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No,
I didn't get it in time. Okay, table 5-6 is town-owned parcels of unknown open space attributes.
Yes.
I think you and Dan did that table originally.
No, please.
Okay.
Dan did.
Dan, okay, sorry. Dan did that table originally.
Yes.
I don't know what there's no description of the table, so I don't really know what it provides or how to update it, because I don't know what to look for it. I mean, it's town-owned stuff.
Okay, you're right. I was mystified. I think what it was Dan derived most of the tables that you've been looking at,
Yep.
okay? And then it was like, oh, I have all this stuff, so we'll now put this into a file marked of open space interest.
Well, that's a different table.
Oh, is that a different table?
And that's question two,
okay.
it's two-part
Oh, you're
question.
right, yes,
So-
yes. Well, maybe it was, I think it was though, like, had a bunch, how many are in that roughly?
25?
Yeah, okay. He
Ish
had a
rows,
bunch
30 rows.
about that size, and I think that's, the unknown open space interest was, I think it meant to say, I'm coming to this later.
Gotcha. Well, maybe table 5-6.
Could be.
Next.
Well, does anything,
It's almost all Plum Island stuff. I think.
yes, does anything stand out in terms of size or location and ring bells with you?
There is no acreage in that table.
I know.
But it's all, like I said, there's a lot of Plum Island addresses.
Yeah,
12th Street, 25, 12th
Yeah,
Street,
yeah.
12th Street, 12th Street, 12th Street, 14th Street, Old Point Road, you know, it seemed like a lot of it revolved around the island. There's some other stuff, I mean, Elm Street, yes, town-owned parcels of unknown
okay, you know what I
open
think it
space
is?
attributes.
I think it's stuff that at that point was unascribed by the assessors.
Okay,
In other words, I mean, we're talking a long time ago.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
talking 2008,
right,
Yeah.
okay? And I think what happened was the town had, still does, some fairly, records, and there are a whole bunch of things out on Plum Island where nobody really knows sort of who, what, where, and whatever, or didn't then. That's probably what it is. And he found a few others floating about. Some of those may be town properties, some may be tax default,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, the table says town-owned, for that table,
yeah.
so,
It is sort of an interesting data point, like what are some town-owned parts? Is there another table that has town-owned?
there is, yeah, table 5-4 is town of Newbury owned conservation and rec properties. And it has a column that, lists protection level, if it's actually permanently protected or if there's just some sort of limited protection, like the schools, are on that list.
I feel like that
And-
should be a goal of looking at the other town-owned properties to see if they warrant protection. Like, are they nice enough, do they have enough attributes that we should actually take it as a goal to also protect them as open space, since I mean, we're hearing
Right.
from people, like, we haven't done a survey, but we just had people show up that say that, like, the main thing that they wanna do is protect more space to prevent it from development, so I feel like that is actually a useful exercise.
But so should 5.6 be combined with 5.4 then? So the unknown open space attributes table, they're town owned, should that get wrapped into the town of Newbury owned?
Yeah, and one says like conservation, preservation, and then the other one is like no status or status unknown, or maybe their status has been updated by the assessor's
Right.
office by now,
Combined with
17 years later. Or there might be some new
5.4.
data.
I think so,
I
you know,
think,
because
yeah.
that table predates water and sewer.
Different.
And water and sewer in Plum Island
Oh,
sorted
did they?
out a lot of stuff, because they have to. They-
Yeah, are there pump stations even on some of them, like,
Yeah,
did they, or
all
did
of
they get
that's-
used for
yeah.
certain things, yeah.
Yeah, the only, can you do blind searches through GIS that way? No, you can't, can you? You couldn't throw those into a GIS search and see what it turns up, or could you?
I might have to ask somebody a little more query.
Yeah, I think it's like a reverse.
The attributes.
Yeah.
If it's in the attributes, yeah, right. Like if it still correlates to what actually is shown in GIS now,
Right,
you know, if things have changed or anything like that. Like they might not be completely comparable anymore.
I'm gonna say maybe, yeah, it might be just useful just to, if you could, to plug in or have somebody plug in that list and see where they actually are.
Sure.
And whether they're, you know,
Oh, yeah.
postage stamps or.
Yeah,
Right?
Yep. Okay.
And then that would get rid of the sort of question mark that hangs over that table, but I'm pretty sure it was Dan sort of like, oh, well, let's call them.
But probably we can just grab anything that's town of Newbury now, and then we just need to sort through it.
That's, and I mean, you know, I guess I kind of have that in like the master assessors list. You know, if we sort that and we sort it by the town,
Yeah,
you know, then we would have all town-owned parcels.
and then we need to identify like which are permanently protected,
Right.
which are in care, custody, and control of the schools, or the conscom, or
Right.
DPW, or select board, and then there may be ones that jump out as like, well,
Yeah.
we don't want the select board to, whatever, build a new sewage plant on it, we want to protect it, this is
Right.
open space or whatever. There could be some like parsing through to identify some
Right.
Priorities, yeah.
steps to take, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was what with the master assessors data that I had was, that's when I was gonna try to pull out like town-owned stuff, which I hadn't done yet. I had just sorted that
Yeah.
so far by acreage, because I just had that 100-acre question, and
Yeah,
sometimes I go down the data rabbit hole.
yeah,
I like statistics, so,
yeah.
so
Well, it is, I mean, I
you know,
think
looked at
this
it
is,
ways.
like other open space plans I've been involved in, that's like, that can be a very challenging piece of work to figure out the real ownership. Like, it's town owned, but like, what does that really mean?
Right.
Like, did it get left to the town in someone's will and it's supposed to be a park, but now it's not, right? Like, there's some properties like
Right.
that we may know about, but there are other ones that just like digging through the deed and who has
Yeah, it was like
custody and
the-
whether the right entity is actually being the right steward, like, I think sometimes you find
Like the
things-
Veterans Park.
Yeah,
Here in Byfield, where 20 years ago, everybody sort of thought it was something, but nobody seemed
this
to
one
know.
right here.
Yeah,
across from
nobody
you.
identified it as
Right.
such, except finally a couple of very elderly folk were found who said, oh yes,
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a Veterans Park.
yeah, yeah.
And it goes around the post office, yep. That was-
And also this parcel right next door to this, right across from your driveway, that I believe was acquired for
Oh,
a
that
particular
was-
purpose.
that
So the
was the
vote at
whole-
town
yeah.
meeting said something,
Yeah,
but it's still just sitting there. And whether anybody remembers like what it was supposed to, you know, that
Well,
history is gonna get lost over time.
It was, yeah, a classic. You don't have long enough for
Yeah.
that story.
No, but people still might wanna use it for something, you know, so,
Yeah.
anyway.
All right, last question. One of the later tables, table 5.8, is privately owned land and unprotected parcels of open space interest. The criteria at the time, somewhere it said, 10 acres or greater, but the table goes as low as like 2 acres, because, if it's important, it's important. Doesn't matter what the acreage size is, it could be 2 acres and have more biodiversity than 50. We might not be able to answer this question now. Do we, as a committee, want to come up with the criteria for that? Greenbelt has also underwent a lot of prioritization work for guiding our efforts in land protection. They can make maps for us for prioritization. Their criteria is what their criteria is going to be. They might be able to tailor it if we have some ideas. I don't have all the criteria off the top of my head, and I can talk with our GIS team about what they've used, but they're focusing on farmland, they're focusing on parcels either 5 or 10 acres or greater, not smaller, in that prioritization effort, but they can kind of, if we want them to, they can kind of produce that kind of, goals for us for that kind of table.
That would be useful, because when I talked to Vanessa about all of this, who's the person at Greenbelt who does a lot of this stuff in terms of deciding, right?
Yeah, she would be the project manager,
Right, well,
completing a
interestingly,
project.
because I had mentioned, the Armstrong parcel.
Right.
Okay, and she mentioned 2 or 3 others which were further up on her list than the Armstrong parcel.
Yeah.
I guess you've had contact from the daughter recently, do I remember? Yes? No?
From Armstrong?
Yeah.
No.
No, okay, maybe.
I
it
know
was-
them, but not
Yeah,
recently.
okay, maybe
Yeah.
it was Vanessa then, okay,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, so Abby, who's running that conference too, the open space conference, she
Yeah.
heads up all of our GIS stuff, and the kind of planning side of a lot of things there. So, her and her team have developed these prioritization criteria, and they've been mapping them for
Right.
different towns and whatnot, and I'm not sure which towns, but some towns in their open space plan updates have, utilized that information, and Greenbelt's produced the map for them, correlating to that table and whatnot. So we can do that. Otherwise, we're kind of just maybe picking something a little arbitrary and, setting out on that, if we're just like, well, everything, 5 acres or more, we can generate that list. It doesn't mean it has anything weighted on it, as far as, is it farmland, is it, drinking water supply, is it this, is it that, whatever, I don't have the capacity to do the GIS leg of that kind of, that kind of,
I don't know exactly what the goals of SS Greenbelt versus the town would be.
Right.
They may be very consistent. For us as a committee to go through and do that, I think that's a stretch.
yeah,
And depends what the survey says. Maybe what Greenbelt wants is different from what the town wants according to the survey. I don't know if we'll be able to tease that out or not.
yeah, because we're not looking at rec opportunities, right, or active rec opportunities. I know that's not in our criteria.
Yeah.
What I don't know is if they are adding certain things in depending on, an open space committee's recommendation or not.
Right, like could it be tailored,
Could it-
once we
yeah.
get the survey results, could we
Yeah.
use the program to tailor it to
Right.
whatever the results were?
And I can get more information on that. I just had a quick conversation with Abby in our office the other day about it, and I just really haven't had a chance to sit down with her and get
Yeah.
all the details from her on how they've been doing that work.
Is it made public? I'm curious.
Well, I don't think we have it just out there anywhere. I think if a municipality requested it, we would share it with them, absolutely.
I think there are some issues with that. There's people who have real issues with identifying
Oh, yeah.
privately owned
Yeah.
land as being preservation or conservation opportunities because it can do a couple of things. One is it can alert, how should we say, less than perhaps good developers. And also at the same time, it can do some things to property values. So I think we'd have to be pretty careful about what it is we're saying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in our table here, we're not listing the actual owner, unless it's, more of an entity, like, we've got we show land in this table that the Governors Academy owns, that the Essex County Sportsman's Club owns, but everything else is just listed as private. There's no David Powell's parcel, but it is showing addresses for all the parcels in this table.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't
These
take
days,
much
it's easy to figure that out.
It's so easy to
yeah.
figure that out, right?
Yeah, I mean, in this day and age, most people really don't understand how much this can tell you about a person if you just know where they live.
Right.
It's amazing.
I would think it'd be interesting to see if it's possible to tell us what criteria Greenbelt used for
Yeah.
their work, because maybe we don't need to rethink it.
Right.
Maybe we can just capture that in some way, as this is a prioritization exercise that our wonderful local land trust has done for Newbury, and this is just a snapshot of that.
Yeah.
I agree kind of where Bill you were going maybe, which is that's a whole can of worms to try to figure out what priorities and if they're gonna wait on them.
I agree. I
Might be hard to sort through as a committee.
Yeah, it could be a goal, right? It could be
Yeah,
it's a follow-on
like an
project.
action.
Yeah.
Oh, and that is what MVPC said to us several times, was you can identify things as part of your plan, and you don't have to do them all.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, I feel like that is,
I like
That's-
that idea. That's
yeah.
interesting because it's helpful.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, all right. Well, thank you. It just helps me be able to move forward a little bit of
Yeah.
Yeah.
some things
Thanks for all the work.
Yeah,
That's
thank you.
huge.
Yeah, no problem. Just going back real quick, there's a table about all the conservation restrictions and APRs in town, right? Regardless of who holds them. That's all public knowledge, public record, but I still feel weird being David's, I'd give your address, but not, your name. You could sell it tomorrow, right? So the name part there is maybe less important in my mind than the physical area.
No, well, that's
You
a
know.
public record because
Yeah.
of the tax issue and all the rest of it. And that is in fact, I think, the one table that provides us with a fairly good view of what are really truly active 61As and what are 61A tax really dodges in some cases. And then we have a handful of 61Bs, which is,
Recreation.
Recreation, thank you. But no, I think that that's the kind of base level table for this sort of work. Yep. And then to keep it updated, and when you go in and look at some of them, some of the stuff that goes on is really weird, I have to tell you. In terms of what they choose as codes for what they're doing with their property. One year it's forestry, and the next year it's corn. Which is interesting.
Okay. So we're running real long tonight, so I kind of want to crank through this. So before we just move this section, we're talking about individual sections, or any other burning things that we need to discuss, that if something.
I was just gonna say for section 4, if you guys are talking to Merrimack Valley, and I know that we have a certain number of hours for them, if they can create updated tables, in section 4, tables 4.1 through 4.9, it would be helpful if they have easy access to that data,
What are they though?
They are like, and I don't even know if like, there's one table that I'm not even sure that we really.
Oh, is it like
needed,
wildlife
But it's
species?
land use. Yeah, there's one that's like the land use. There is habitat types. Then there's, but the habitat types, like it's using trustees of reservation from 1998 data, and so I just wonder if there's a more recent version, like a more recent document that they could pull from. Then there's vegetation, rare, threatened, and endangered species from NHESP that I think they might be able to pull pretty easily. Then there's like fish, eel, shellfish, and crustacean species, amphibians, mammals, birds. I honestly feel like maybe the birds goes on for like 10 pages, and so I honestly feel like if we could put it as an appendix and just maybe put the summary data, like there's 10 fish species and 5, you know.
Is that required to
Okay.
list every species that might ever pass through?
So that's also kind of my, I just feel like it's overkill, and so I want to pull some stuff out. But if you're talking to them, I didn't want to lose the opportunity to like put it on their scope if we actually do need it, but I haven't taken the step of confirming what's really needed.
Okay.
And I feel like, yeah, there's like that's all the birds. It just keeps on going. So anyway, those were, if you're gonna talk to them, just talk, you know, maybe they say, oh, no, you don't, or maybe you could even, because they already know like what's required by the state to be included in the plan, and they can say, no, you don't need any of those, or yeah, we can just run those quickly, and it won't take them that long to create them, and then we can weave them back into the narrative.
Okay.
Thanks.
I mean, section 3, which I wasn't here last time, and we talked briefly about it, but I
Yeah.
also realized there's a comment from the meeting that it's about pulling from the master plan and other sources, but it's a similar kind of thing where the sources for different tables, particularly in section 3, which is community setting, for the population characteristics, which is really like a lot of demographic data, age, education, jobs, blah, 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 all that. And like, you know, the sources are bounce around.
Right.
And even the master plan sources are like, say if it's census data, it's from 2018, but there is more recent data from 2022 or 3 through UMass, I think, or something. But, you know, there's questions around just what is the best way to get at that data.
And I do think that it's sort of the same question, like what do we actually have to have for this
Exactly,
plan?
exactly.
Do we have to cover every demographic question you might?
Yeah, there's a lot there.
I mean,
Right.
yeah.
I'll take a look. I know you're having your conversation tomorrow, but I will take a look and
Yeah.
compare to the state requirements and see what we really need and what we can ask.
Yeah, I mean, who we're talking to tomorrow is the GIS person, so my guess is
Okay,
like,
so
it's not necessarily GIS data, like
Yeah.
even a list of species, I don't know, but I mean, that seems like you go directly to National Heritage and be like, can you give me the list for Newbury, or what can you tell me? I'm not
Maybe
saying
some of them-
MVPC can't do it, I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's not necessarily GIS
Well, they
for some of these
did
things.
it in the
Gotcha.
past because they had people there who had interest in that, and that information was available. And I think,
We can definitely, I think Adrian's probably the person to talk to about these lists,
Yeah,
because she
yeah,
can
right.
just tell us.
uh,
Like, maybe
I
they
mean,
already
don't
have
we
it.
ask the obvious question, and that is, we look at a comparable community that has filed an open space plan, hopefully within the area, and actually Rowley is one, and see what the state,
Yeah, well, we
permitted,
just look at the
okay?
handbook and see what,
Yeah,
like, that
right.
Cindy and I can do that
because,
easily.
you know, I mean, I think what happened with the original 2010 one was most of it was in place when Mike and I got on board anyway, and certainly when I got on board, and I think a lot of that information was simply what MVPC sort of had,
Yeah,
right? And whether it really was required for, you know, what the state
yeah,
wanted. And at that point, the other thing was the state was using towns to generate information that they didn't want to pay for.
Right.
Right.
Well, we can explore, my guess is there's like a minimum of what's required, and then there's some options, and if we like what was in there, we don't, we can like modify it, so, yeah.
The other question was if there are some requirements for data and it's in the master plan, because the town paid for the master plan, can we just lift that
Yeah,
and
sure.
move it right into here?
Yeah.
And we can just like, maybe we just even put a source if we need to of the town master plan.
That's my plan for
That's
all our
section.
stuff.
Okay.
so.
I did that for
There
the,
was a lot of that in section 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I just wanted to make sure no one was gonna be
Yeah.
upset if I just copied and pasted, but I'll put the source.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Right. No, I'm very,
I'm very worried about that, but I think
Right.
that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I did it for all of our rec facilities. I literally opened up the master plan and took that table and put it in the end section here and said, you know, master plan 2023.
Yep, okay,
I was like, why am I gonna reinvent the wheel
We're
here?
all
It's
on the
all
same
sitting
page.
right there,
good. Yeah,
you know?
just wanted to sync up, make sure we're all doing the same thing.
Yeah, I like it.
I have one little thing. We were talking about collaborating with the rec committee, trying to get them to be more involved in the plan. And I have a meeting on March 10th. So we were thinking of trying to either, I could go or anyone else who wants to go can also join, and we can kind of like give them stuff to do.
Did you see the email I sent out?
Maybe.
Sent a copy to you and to Kristen. Turns out you met, if we want to talk about the rec committee now, which was sort of on my supposed watch anyway.
Well, you met with them,
Yeah,
so
I
they
did
knew what's
meet
happening.
with them, and I am in touch with them, and I haven't gone back,
Yeah,
because frankly, we were establishing sort of what we were going to do, and so,
yeah.
okay, my quick question to you is, where was that plan that you sent me today? You sent me the master plan.
In my folders.
Electronic folder.
Yeah.
How come it's not on the website?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Because people don't do stuff
the
like
regular
this,
best, all right.
they just don't get around to it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So.
No, I got that from the town administrator's office, though,
Oh,
so they
okay.
provided it to me.
All right.
It's a master plan that the rec committee
Okay.
had Huntress Associates do on the Central Street fields. So it's like a management plan for just that property.
Yes, yeah, so.
And it was presented to the select board last year, and now the rec committee is using that to
Right.
take
Well,
actions.
Yeah, so,
as a guide.
okay, so
Yeah,
so the two of the responsibilities that I don't know, volunteered for, Taxpayers Association and the Rec Committee, and they both suffer slightly from, no, suffer's the wrong word, they both have the obvious thing that happens, and that is a bit of a territory issue, okay? In other words, why are we reaching out to them? Why are we interested in what they do? Is clearly the gentle feedback I'm getting, okay? I hope I explained it reasonably well to the Rec Committee in person. I have just asked the guy who's their clerk, Mark Sant, because he's the contact I have. And that was the copy I sent you and Kristen, okay, because I wanted you to know I'd done that. It turns out Kristen met the chair who wasn't there the night I went, so I didn't have contact information to him. I also do not know, and I can't share with you, what is actually happening, because I do not know whether there was a formal adoption of that master plan by the select board, but what has happened is items in the master plan have been funded by the COVID funds that we needed to spend by a date certain in April, I think it is, isn't it? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, and we're talking $250,000, okay? And that's for a tot lot at the playing fields, all right? Point of all this is that master plan is only a submittal by a commercial organization. It is not something that has been reviewed by anybody outside of that group, as far as I know, with the exception of the Recreation Committee, okay? So I don't know what they think, so I'm trying to find that out, so we can have, frankly, a good interchange with them, an exchange in terms of finding out, is the master plan the big thing, the only thing on the agenda, or is it part of other plans or looking forward that they have? Because our responsibility is what, 7 years now, is it? It used to be 5.
For the plan?
Yes, for
Yeah,
7 years.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're focused, okay? So that needs to be resolved. And hopefully I will hear back from Mark and get some better idea. And I can send you all now, Kristen found it, thank you. I can send you the plan electronically so you can see it.
I can post it somewhere.
Yeah. And it's not on their website, you see.
Yeah.
It's
'cause they
there
don't
may
have
be a
staff
reason.
for
Well,
this.
there may be a reason for that.
Maybe.
Well, it would seem to me that there probably is a good reason for that, because I think it's in limbo in terms of, if they've agreed to it, there's some stuff on there that's quite cuckoo about the river and boat launching and all kinds of stuff. Okay. The Plum Island Taxpayers Association, all right, I've had contact with them a couple of times. What I've done this time is to reach out to a new person who is a director and ask her who I should contact to ask the kind of question list that you had derived, in terms of what are their plans and so on. They hold that kind of stuff fairly close to their chest, and so I don't quite know. But I do know that he's not new, but the vice president is a guy actually from Salisbury who was on their select board for a number of years, and I think I can probably have a pretty straight exchange with him. And the questions I would be asking from our point of view are simply, how do they see as the Taxpayers Association their relationship to, frankly, particularly to passive recreation, and also essentially access, because that's the real problem. As I think, I showed you with all those photographs and so on. So that's where, and as far as the trustees are concerned, put it this way, the kind of questions that we might ask other organizations, I don't think we can bring to the trustees, because we can't really ask them as to how they actually recruit their lands and whatever, in the sense of, that's a whole other story for them. But what I will do is, and I have feelers out at this point, is to ask them a simple question, and that is, because the regional manager now for this area is somebody who has been involved with Newbury both personally and professionally for many, many years, Peter Pizziero. And I'm simply going to say to Peter, okay, what should Newbury be doing? in the whole open space conservation, that sort of area, from your perspective, as it relates to, the kind of work that the trustees do broadly in the Northeast?
Yeah, I think that was one of the questions. But I think that we decided already that you can just talk to them however you need to talk to them. No need to take those, they were just guides in case you
Yeah,
didn't know what to
right.
say. So,
Right.
and one of them was like, what do you think we should be doing? So whatever, however that conversation flows, that sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah.
If, it's just that if you could take some notes, so then we can use it when we're trying to incorporate that into the report. Just so, these are awesome contacts, you have better contacts than probably anybody, but as long as it takes some notes and stuff, because that was the point of kind of the Google spreadsheets, just so we can kind of pull all this
Yeah.
together and they like, okay, and kind of assess everybody, evaluate everybody's opinions.
And there's just like an open one in there, right? That's just like,
Yeah.
what else did you talk about, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you can go in if it wasn't related to any particular question.
Yeah,
Right.
for miscellaneous notes.
Yeah, perfect.
Could you send that out again,
Yep. We
or
can-
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you want me to do it?
right.
Yeah, I did send it, it was kind of in the big bundle of stuff I sent, with the agenda for this meeting.
Oh, okay, okay, all right, yeah,
That's where we need to keep our notes, okay.
I didn't maybe recognize what it was called.
It was it had like the assignments for everyone, and then there's a link in the beginning, it's like, here's the Google survey.
Right, but, I'm talking about Jim put
For-
together this active
Oh, the,
Google-based.
Well, that's
So the
it.
word
That's it.
survey is
It's-
kind of throwing us off, so
Right.
maybe you could change what it's called, because the survey on our mind is when we're going out to the public to ask them the survey
Yeah.
questions, and this is like the interviews that we're
Yes.
having with like stakeholder
I-
interviews.
the
I think-
organization.
I think that's why people are like confused, so
Yes,
anyway,
but
if there's a way to just call it like
Organization input or something.
organization interviews or
Yeah.
input or, yeah, exactly. Something like that.
gotcha.
The thing that I have is that the original?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the list of who we're gonna talk to
We
and who we're
put the
gonna do
link
it.
in there. The thing
I
Cindy
changed
sent
it, so I'll
last week
send-
has the link in there.
I can't remember if that was.
Because it needed to
I
live
changed it.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Well,
'Cause I kept
okay,
losing
so,
It's like
Top
put
of
the
the
link
okay,
in the
too
thing
many,
with the
too many,
interview
wait a
question.
minute,
Yeah,
guys,
that
too
makes
many
sense.
voices, what is the active thing called? The thing that
The link you wanna click on?
One's responses in, what's that
Google,
called?
Google.
I like organization interview or something along those lines.
Organization
Interview
Sure.
link. The thing.
Meeting notes,
The thing.
it's meeting notes, you're meeting with people and you're having
Yeah.
meeting notes.
I sent,
As long as it's.
I can't remember what it's called, but I can send it again and rename it.
Well, all I'm remembering is that Jim's description of it was that it was, and you said you'd used it, it was an active thing. that you
It's
could
a
pull
link
up.
and there's
It's a
things and you just type into it and then
It's a
press
Google
submit.
form.
Yeah, right,
It's a
And then-
Google form. It's
Right.
not a Google
Yes.
survey. It's a
Sorry,
Google form.
yes.
okay,
Yeah.
right, that's what I've been trying to, because nothing has come up
And
which seems to respond, and
It's
maybe.
in that document, there
This
is
is
a
an
link
old
to
version
the
now.
form.
This is
Not
an
the thing
Oh,
that's you're
no,
holding,
but this
but
is
like
the
the
old
one
one.
that got
probably.
sent electronically.
Ah.
It's a
Yeah.
paper link.
Okay, so the updated version of this,
Correct.
okay, now
Has
what
the
I think
link to the
is,
form.
isn't there something missing on here, and that is the Council on Aging? Shouldn't we be reaching out to them?
Yeah, I think, yeah, if they didn't make it on the list, we might have talked about them later, that was like an older, we
Right.
could, it's a living document, so feel free to add a row.
Yeah.
Feel free to add a row.
I mean, we're definitely gonna get the survey in front of the Council on Aging folks as well. You know, I'm not sure, I mean, I can talk to Cindy, she's on the rec committee, the director. But in terms of representing what an organization like's interest is, it's probably, through the survey, we could get some good information from.
Well, I was
Elders.
wondering, I get a sense that, that we now have a much more active and sort of directed group or directing group of the Council on Aging, and they as a group are going to have, I think, some reactions and interests.
Yeah.
I don't see the
Right.
Council on Aging, well, I'm getting at, I guess, if I can put it more clearly, I don't see the Council on Aging as representing people like me, the ancient people. What I'm looking at is the Council on Aging represents a way of looking at their mission. And part of that is the role which open space and recreation plays in the life of,
Yeah,
am I making sense?
yeah, you can put
Yeah,
my name
And
with
so
them.
to ask the Council on Aging, as opposed to their clientele,
Right.
Stevie,
Yeah.
do you have the link to that table right there?
Yes, well, I have the document.
Yeah, see, there's the hyperlink, so.
And that will take you just to,
Which email did that come in? Because I want
Is
to
it
see
a
this.
midnight?
I just want to,
it looks like this,
Yeah,
and
it
then you
was-
just answer all your,
but which email?
it's right, it was with the draft meeting minutes
Yeah.
from January
I sent
and the
it.
agenda.
I sent it on the 19th to,
Yeah, see that
Everybody.
needs attachment. Plan, that. Yeah.
No, that's not, that doesn't have an option, not the same person.
Okay, so does anyone want to attend the rec committee's meeting on March 10th, back on that? Or no?
I think it's a little too early, I might say, unless you feel that they're doing something that,
Well, it's sort of just to update them on everything this group is doing, like, we're gonna have a meeting. Is there a meeting? Are we having a meeting? We talked about that?
the
The
next
public meeting?
No, we
Oh,
haven't gotten to the,
we-
that's, we've been jumping pretty hard tonight.
Okay.
yeah.
And I'm trying to work through this,
I know,
but there's
okay.
I look at this, I'm like.
Let me just quickly say one thing though,
Yeah.
that section 3 does have the rec, active recreation is a section in
Okay. Okay.
and so they should fill that out because it asks
Yeah.
about all the
Ah.
sports, youth sports, and
Okay.
the enrollment numbers and
Any
all that.
specific
So like,
tasks we can give them?
that would
Like,
be,
here's the section, we need your.
it's a subsection in 3 that they
Yeah.
could take and run with and
Okay.
add on whatever they want, basketball court, you know, and do
Okay.
whatever they need to do there. Do you want me to do anything with that, or just assume
Why don't we
Yeah.
circle back with you?
that sounds good?
Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
well, one of the things that plays into their world particularly is the, the accessibility issue, right?
Yes,
That whole,
That's one of the main things we want to
Yeah.
talk with them about, yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's like this sort of mountain we need to climb.
Okay, I'm gonna circle back with the chair of the committee, David Roll. You've already reached out to the clerk, and we can stay in touch. And then Sadie and I can figure out if, like, maybe we can attend their meeting and update them on what this work is and specific requests.
Because I mean, I'm perfectly happy to go, but at this point, since it's pretty soon, I have a feeling that maybe some problems with this master plan thing, and in
I don't
terms
think
of,
we
you
have to,
know-
like, worry about their master plan right now. Like, they're in charge of their master
No,
plan, we
but-
can
no,
then
but-
figure out how to incorporate it sort of at a later. Look what you're saying, like, we might need more time for that.
Yeah,
discussion.
and, right, in other words, how reasonable is it of us to expect that they in fact are going to make a major contribution to this plan, which will be and reflect whatever their quote-unquote master plan is? See, that's where my head's going,
Hmm.
right?
Well, I think we should just ask them that question. Like, we're writing this plan, we're trying to, get some draft language here in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
Are you in a place where you can contribute your thoughts?
Yeah,
to this
that's-
stuff?
Yeah, you can sketch
Well,
out.
that's
a
what I'm
timeframe
hoping
for
to
it.
get, open a conversation with Mark about, and if it includes David Brawl as well, fine, you know, it's just that I haven't met the guys, so, you know, and they're a bit kind of cutesy about contact info.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
And then the meeting, we thought maybe the 18th was too ambitious if we don't, if we're still like working on our survey and stuff, and we want to have it ready by that meeting.
Right. Yeah.
For a public
So,
meeting.
when are
So,
we
yeah.
envisioning the public meeting to be though? Like, I think we have to.
I think we're thinking April,
Sometime early
because March
April.
seemed like this was
Yeah.
kind of the
Yeah.
last meeting before March, but then now we've got the meeting next week to talk about the survey. So once the survey is done, I feel like we're in a good spot where we can
Yeah.
schedule the meeting.
Schedule a meeting,
Yeah.
So maybe we land on the meeting date on the 4th.
Yeah, when we're done talking about the survey, we can make a plan for that. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Cool.
Alright. So I think in a roundabout way, we might have hit every bullet here tonight. We've been
Yeah.
jumping a little bit. And David, your member updates, that everything you talked about, with the contacts you've had with other people, did that cover any other updates you wanted to include?
That's it.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I thought. Excellent. Excellent. All right, then we got through it. We have a good plan set up for our next meeting. But how about the next actual meeting date? I think right now it's March 18th. Does that still work for everybody? Now we'll put us right back on track for the third week in every month.
It does look as though it would be helpful, what's her name, Joy, yes, is the newish,
So
Town
I talked with
administrator.
Cindy about us just having this space on the third Tuesday of every month, and she's comfortable with that.
oh, okay,
So
right,
if
so,
that, it works pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, the seats are
Yeah.
uncomfortable, but.
Yeah.
and doesn't it work better if we kind of do that and not shift the date around unless we absolutely have to?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we had a series of very strange emails backwards and forwards about dates with Joy, which was very nice of her to get to, you know, Bill and me, but at the same time didn't include Kristen at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the third Tuesday we'll be here.
Yep.
And are we aiming for 6:30? Or are we, what time?
We had 6:30, went back to 7.
We went back to 7? Do we need 7? Is 7 better or 6:30? Or
I
7?
just thought 6:30 for this room,
6:30
because then,
minutes.
like, if it's a half an hour, say you can work till 7 and I'll be done. But, in person, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean,
Doesn't matter to
I
me.
can do 6:30, 6 might be tough.
Probably 7 is better in this space, because sometimes they're doing something in
Yeah,
there
right.
up until 7.
Okay.
Let's stick with
Seven.
7.
That's all right.
Yep,
Yeah.
excellent, all right. Then I think that's a wrap. Would anybody like to move to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the February 25th, 2025 open space meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.